Hey y'all, welcome back to Mandy's Music Monday. In some of my vlogs, I asked people to ask me questions because I'm doing the vlogtember, vlog every day in September, and I figured, if anybody was curious and wanted to know stuff, ask me questions. So one of my friends, her name is RN Junkie. I think that's her YouTube name. I don't know if she wants me to tell you her real name, so I won't, just in case. But I think that's her YouTube name. She asked me if I could make I should have wrote it down. I didn't write her exact wording down. If I could make a soundtrack of my life starting from when I was little to now, what would it be? And I picked like 14 songs, and I tried to do, because like a soundtrack has about that many songs on there, right? So I picked out 14, and I kind of did it by age, kind of like where we were living at the time. That's kind of how I did it. So, number one, let's just get on with it. Number one, I was born in California. I was not raised in California. I think I was there until I was about 1 or 2. I'm not positive. But the song that always makes me think of California, and it's weird because I don't know if I'm thinking about the song when I lived there or like when we went back and visited, because I know we went back and visited a couple of times before we finally moved to Kentucky. But I put like 0 to 2, but it may be a little bit sorry, I'm trying to get like positioned right in this camera and it's not working today. I'm so tired. I tried really hard not to yawn. I'm so sorry. Is Genesis Invisible Touch. And that song, it just reminds me of palm trees. It reminds me of my granny's old house there. It reminds me of riding in the back of my uncle's car. It's just a great song. And it wasn't even until I was an adult that I even realized what he was even saying in that song, because I've always loved that song. And my mom had it on like a compilation CD of like a bunch of other 80s songs. And me and Tiffers, my sister, we used to always listen to that one and John Parr, Man in Motion, or St. Elmo's Fire. But anyway, when he says, she sees the hat and invisible touch, she reaches in and grabs right hold of your heart. When I sang that, I just sang a bunch of gibberish because I had no idea what he was saying, literally until like 2 years ago when I'm finally like, you know what? We have this thing called the internet and I can look up lyrics. Why did I do that? So the next one is when we lived in Germany. When we lived in Germany, I had to have been at least 3 or 4 when we were there. And I specifically remember the way the cassette looked. Like the cassette was black and it had a red label on it. And it's Billy Ocean, Caribbean Queen. I love Billy Ocean anyway. So yeah, it's just like, that song just makes me, I'm so sorry. That song just makes me feel little. Not necessarily like in Germany, but it just makes me feel little. Like, I love that song. I can listen to it on repeat all the time. Number 3, this was when we moved to Kentucky, and it was when I very first got into MTV, because back in the 80s, MTV actually played music videos, and they were pretty awesome. And the one that I picked, because I remember it was one of my favorite videos when I was little, is Whitney Houston, I Want to Dance with Somebody. And I remember asking my mom how she changed her hair so much, but she was wearing extensions. But I love that song. I loved her lavender mini dress. I thought she was just like the coolest person I had ever seen. And all I wanted to do was dance like her. Like, I wanted to be Whitney Houston when I was like 4 or 5 years old. It was fabulous. Okay, now we're kind of skipping ahead to when I learned my mom and dad had the biggest stereo with the biggest speakers. I mean, the speakers were tall. They were taller than me at the time when they got them. And it was so cool because it had a remote, and me and my sister thought that was so cool. We'd be like changing, the track with like the remote and stuff. It was so awesome. So, that was when, this is number 4, and it's Madonna Holiday. And when my mom worked, My mom started working when me and Tiff both started going to school. And my dad was in the military, and my granny lived right next door, and she babysat us. So, like, when my mom and dad weren't home, me and Tiffany used to get on there, and my mom had the CD that had Holiday on it. I can't think of, what's the name of that album? I can't think of the name of the album that it's on. But we used to put it on repeat and play it all the time. And we had like a squirt bottle that we would like squirt the cats with when they were bad. And so we would put it on like mist, and we would spray the water up in the air, and we would dance, and we would pretend like it was like glitter falling. And we were like super cool and fabulous, and we'd be like lip singing like nobody's business. It was awesome. And then the second one that I picked, now I'm categorizing this as middle school, is Wilson Phillips' Hold On. Fabulous song. I used to stand on top of the picnic table in the backyard and sing this song. It was amazing. Like, I had the tape, and I would put it in my cassette player with my headphones, and I'd stand on top of the picnic table, and I would just like give like a full-blown concert. It was awesome. I loved it. Okay, now going to middle school. Middle school, I don't really remember listening to a whole lot of music, but the one song that defined a whole tiny part of my life was when we moved to Louisiana. And we had been in Kentucky. I had my 5th birthday here, and we left Kentucky when I started 7th grade in Louisiana. So we had been here a really long time, and I cried. I didn't want to go. I didn't want to leave my friends. It was like a horrific time in my life. And the song that defines Louisiana for me, because literally we went over the Louisiana state line, and not 5 minutes later, this song came on. This is no joke. I mean, I could not make this up. Garth Brooks, Calling Baton Rouge, came on the radio. And this was when Garth Brooks was in his prime. I mean, Garth Brooks was everywhere. He was the greatest country singer ever at that time. And I remember my mom saying, well, we've arrived. And she's sitting in the front seat, and me and Tiff are sitting in the back seat. And I'll never forget her saying that. And then, like, 2 minutes later was the first time I'd ever seen an armadillo, and it was dead on the side of the road. And I'm like, what the hell is that? Because it looked like an alien. And my dad's like, that's an armadillo. And I was like, gross. Now, when we moved back to Kentucky, we weren't even there a year. Like, it was awful. Me and my sister hated it there. I mean, it was a dark period in Mandy's childhood. So we came back to Kentucky, and I remember getting heavily into Brooks and Dunn. And all I wanted for my birthday that year was Brooks and Dunn. I think the CD was called Borderline, maybe, and it was the one that had the My Maria cover. I thought that was the greatest song in the world. Now, that song epically defines middle school for me, especially like 8th grade, because we went on a field trip, and I had my CD player, and I listened to that song the entire time on the bus, and it was fabulous. I love that song so much. That song makes me feel like awkward teenager, or like awkward, I wasn't a teenager yet, but like awkward adolescent, that song is it. And then the other one would be Fields of Gold by Sting, because I was heavily into Alan Rickman, because I accidentally stumbled upon Sense and Sensibility, and I went to this Alan Rickman website like way back in the day when there was still dial-up. And the song had a MIDI. Do you guys remember MIDIs? It was like just musical. It was like elevator music, and I used to download all kinds of MIDIs of all the songs. I have no idea why. And like that song, and it was my favorite Alan Rickman website, and every time you went to it, that was the song that played, and that just reminds me of like my first like British celebrity crush. Like, I thought he was so awesome, and to me he's like, he's so gross and he's so old, Mandy. I'm like, psh, I don't care. Okay, now we're getting into Mandy's high school years, and Fleetwood Mac pretty much defined all of my high school, because I listened to him that entire period of my life. The Dance came out when I was a freshman, and Silver Springs was like the big song. So, I mean, I listened to it all the time. Sorry, I wanted to make sure it was still working. That was my jam. I mean, I love it. I love it so much. And that right there totally defined my freshman year, because that was really when I was discovering music that wasn't like, country music. A lot of country music it's not written by the artists. Like, they have meetings, and like groups of people gather and write one song, and then that's how sometimes these country singers can like chuck out an album so fast, because they're not writing the music. Somebody's writing it, someone's making a demo, they hear the demo and they copy it. So, whatever. But, what was I even talking about? That was when I discovered, like, real songwriting and, like, real music that had, like, heart and had a meaning and had passion and, like, love and stuff behind it. It was just great. And what better artist to introduce you to that than Fleetwood Mac, who, like, they all slept with each other and all broke up with each other. Great love story, right? Now, once I kind of hit my 20s, that was when I started having really bad problems with my back. And that was when I discovered David Gray. Now, I know who David Gray was. I had heard Babylon and Please Forgive Me, like his really popular radio hits here in the States. And one night my back was like hurting hella bad. I wasn't even working at the time. I was sitting in my chair practically crying. And so I'm looking on the on demand on TV, and he had a concert. I'm pretty sure it was when Life in Slow Motion came out. And he had a concert, and they had, like, at first, they had just like the video. They had it separated up. They had the video, and then they had the concert. And I heard that song, and I'm like, oh my God, this is awesome. So I'm looking him up on the internet, and I'm like, are you serious? This is the Babylon guy. And then after that, I was in love. So, like, that period of my life when my back was hurting, his music kind of saved me. And honestly, my back hurt so bad. I used to, like, I've told you guys this before in other vlogs, but I used to, like, drink heavily. Like, I drank a lot when my back hurt. And basically, I drank vodka and I listened to David Gray for like a year. And that's what got me through that, guys. I'm not even gonna lie. David Gray, vodka and Vicodin saved my life, because I'm serious. I wanted to die. I wanted to die. Okay. Following all that, you know what? I skipped one, and it was Goo Goo Dolls, my junior year. And that was Goo Goo Dolls, Black Balloon. A lot of people, like, that was when Iris was really popular. Yeah, I liked Iris, but Black Balloon just, like, spoke to me because it was, like, this dark, emo, sad song, and this hot dude was singing it, and it was just so great. And, like, they made me, like, speak up for myself or for them, because one time we had a substitute teacher, and, like, they conned her into, like, letting us turn MTV on. And some rap song was on, and then Goo Goo Dolls' Black Balloon came on, and they were going to change it, and I'm like, you don't change that shit, because I'm listening to it. And that was, like, the first time I'd ever said anything in that class, because I was, like, always quiet. I never said shit. And, it kind of made me feel good, because I'm like, no, don't change that. And they didn't. I'm like, people listen to me. People will listen to you, Mandy, if you open your mouth. Okay, now back to after the period when my back had stopped hurting and everything, and I finally decided that I need to get on the weight loss train. I need to lose weight. And about that time, Bug had discovered Labyrinth, and she was obsessed with the Labyrinth soundtrack, and I was so tired of hearing it. I was so tired of hearing Dance Magic. And I told her, baby, I'm like, he has got a ton of other songs. I'm like, let's find some new David Bowie music. So we get online, and I start discovering all this David Bowie music that I had forgot that he sang. I'm like, I know this one, I know this one, I know this one. So then I started buying albums. And when I started losing weight, I said, instead of, like, a lot of times I rewarded myself with food. I don't do that anymore. So now it was like, I need to reward myself with something other than food. So, like, if you go back and look at my really old vlogs, I always said, remember, buy Bowie, not food, or something like that. I can't remember exactly how I said it. So whenever I lost weight, I would reward myself. And one of the rewards I got was I bought the Strangers When We Meet single, and then I got, like, some, like, import single of it. I've got just about every Strangers When We Meet thing that you can imagine. And, yeah. So that makes me think of my weight loss. And you know what? David Bowie just, like, he speaks to your soul, man. He really, really does. He is just one of those artists that no one can ever be him. Ever. People may try, but there's only one David Bowie. Where was I at? Number 13. 13, I'm a little bit embarrassed by. But, sometimes when you have your heart broke, you need a heartbreak song. So, my heartbreak song was Taylor Swift, Red. And I hate Taylor Swift, y'all. I hate her. Hate Taylor Swift. And for whatever reason, that song, I heard it on the radio at work, and it just kind of spoke to me in that moment that I needed it. And I was kind of like, okay, Taylor Swift, I will take this one. I will take this one, but I will take no more, because that new freaking song she's got out, that Shake It Out, blows. It blows. It sucks. Because she's always like, you know, like jam to this whatever beat or whatever she's talking about. And I'm like, then she does like this lame cheerleader chant. I'm like, whatever, Taylor Swift. Whatever. Now, the very last song is one that pretty much can kind of sum me up. Sum me up. It just sums me up. And that would be David Bowie, Heroes. And I will tell you why. I like the live version. Now, don't get me wrong, the original version is great, but when he does it live, he like changes up the lyrics, and I mean, they're just like, he's got like this choir of people singing behind him, you know, just the way his band is singing behind him. And the lyrics to that song just make my heart beat. They put the beat in my heart. I can listen to the song when I'm happy. I can listen to the song when I'm sad. I can listen to the song when I'm working out. I can listen to the song anytime. Mainly because he's just like, dude, we can be heroes just for one day. You know what? If you are having a super horrible day and I can put this song on, and David Bowie says, you know what, we can be heroes. I'm like, you know what, I can. I may be having a shitty day, but you know what, I'll come home, and you know, maybe Bug's having a shitty day too, and I can make her day happy. I can make my mom's day happy. I can make my sister's day happy. And it's just kind of like, you know what, you don't have to do something super huge to be happy or be a good person, or, you know, like, I just love this song so much. I just love it. I love it. Like, I mean, if I would have known Bowie since infancy, this entire list probably would have been filled with Bowie songs, because Bowie has a song for every emotion you could ever want to have. Ever. He's thought of it. He has a song for it. He also has an outfit for it, and probably a pair of platform boots. Just saying. So, that's it. I'm going to wrap it up now, because I think this is going to be really long by the time I edit it. So I'm going to try and cut it down. We'll see how much I can able to cut down. So I'll be back tomorrow with some vlogs. And I hope this answered your question. And yeah. See you next time.